Hi, Karen. It looks like Terry is connecting, and we'll give Terry just a second. And welcome. It's a small group tonight and very intimate. So any questions you may have, Karen, it's totally up to you. We can ready to answer, or if you're just here to observe and sit back, that's great too. And welcome Terry too. So we appreciate it. We got a small group here tonight. We're really appreciative of having you both here. I'll just give a brief introduction and then turn it over to our wonderful presenters. I think just as a note for our participants, we're recording this and we share this live after the event. It's both for one of the programs we have, Lived Experience Leaders, and for the community as a service. Maybe I'll just start by introducing myself. I'm Brian with Engage Winona, and we're a 4-year-old nonprofit that does work around creating community change. And this workshop idea came out of one of our programs called Lived Experience Leaders, which is exclusively for diverse participants and change makers who are doing really great in Winona and doing all this amazing work. And really, we're looking for some support and training and technical resources from a wealth of local experts on these really great topics. And so tonight we're covering storytelling on social media and working with local media, really from that community lens of whether you have an idea or a project or a volunteer group or a small nonprofit, or like how to, especially sort of working from that limited volunteer capacity, how do you do that work? So I think I've covered a lot of my introduction ground. Missing anything? No, I don't think so. I think this is now event number 5, and so we're really pleased to be doing this series. That's what I missed. So the previous series, and I'll talk about this as I close, we have the videos on our Facebook page at Engage Winona and engagewinona.org at our website. We have all the previous videos along with a bunch of free resources for folks. We've covered things like grant writing and starting nonprofits and starting small businesses and all kinds of great topics. So I think with that, and so for folks here tonight, I'm also your tech support. I'll be here in the background if you need anything, but otherwise at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our presenters. Maybe let's go in the order of Kate, Stacy, and Jessi, just to introduce yourselves and share a quick story about a story that's inspired you. And then from there, Kate, you can launch right in your presentation and we'll go forward. So thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for hosting this, Brian. Eager to chat more about sharing stories of Winona. I'm Kate Carlson, Partnership Director at Visit Winona. We're the Convention and Visitors Bureau here in town. Long story short, we get to just talk about all the cool stuff there is in Winona, and I describe my own job as being kind of a cheerleader for our city. I have a degree in photojournalism, so my bones are in storytelling. I just love the idea of sharing content and engaging with community through the just normal stories of everyday life. And so that's my little quip, or my little example, I guess, of one thing that I've really loved sharing stories of. When I was working as a photographer, journalist at a newspaper down in DeKalb, Illinois, I actually pitched the idea of allowing me to take one single photo every day of anything I wanted. And it just had to show everyday life in a really cool, interesting, unique way. And we called it something like, I don't even remember now, something like Today in DeKalb or something. And it pushed me journalistically to challenge myself to show everyday life really with engagement and with interest for folks. And to this day, I still get people from the DeKalb area talking about how much they like to just see everyday life. So that's a story that I love sharing, and something that I didn't think would come of a simple photo every day.
I'm Stacy Shones with Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center. Oh, my screen went messy there for a second. That's why I jumped. With Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center, and I'm the development coordinator. So I've been working in the nonprofit world in development for about 7 years now. But before I went into nonprofit work, I actually worked in television for 9 years, behind the scenes and in front of the camera. I made the shift into nonprofit work, one, because I have a family. You might hear them in the background once in a while, and I apologize. But also because I truly am inspired by just helping people and making a difference in the lives of others. We do amazing work at Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center in regards to mental illness in children as young as 0, so birth, all the way up to when you're 80, 90 years old. So it inspires me every day to do the work that I do.
All right. Okay, so I'm Jessi Darst. I am the volunteer and marketing coordinator at Habitat for Humanity here in Winona. Just this week, I hit my 2-year anniversary. And before this, I was director of a very small nonprofit. It's kind of how I got my feet wet. I did that for a couple of years. I was the only paid employee. I did a little bit of everything. And then I came here and full-time, full throttle. This is what we do. We tell stories, we connect the community with the families that we partner with. And yeah, it's all about storytelling and inspiring people to join with us as we partner with local families.
Great. Thanks, Kate and Stacy and Jessi. And we just really appreciate you being here and sharing your expertise. And I think we can kind of roll with the plan of Kate. You can kick it off and talk through, and then Jessi will follow, and then Stacy to close and talking about working with local media. And certainly it's informal, and feel free to, Karen, if you have questions throughout the presentation, jump on in, and Stacy and Jessi and Kate go ahead and jump on and support each other too. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to you, Kate.
Sounds good, thanks. I'm going to screen share because I'm all about the visuals, as you probably heard from my photojournalism background. All right. Everybody can see? All right, we're rolling, great. So first things first, before I even start my portion of this presentation, I have to say, as Visit Winona, as our destination marketing organization for our city, our mission is really to reach people in as many facets as possible. So that's really our goal, that's our main job. And so we recognize that we probably have way more ability and assets and resources to do this than most normal organizations. So this is probably going to be a lot of a little bit maybe overwhelming, just the reach, but also just please keep in mind that is our job. That is what we're supposed to do. So I'm going to pull out some fun examples and give you some ideas to tell your story from whatever industry you're kind of looking at. So really storytelling can happen in so many different ways, particularly on social media, in that no longer is it just AOL Instant Messenger, right? There's so many platforms and so many more that even come on as we're speaking that as a marketer, it's overwhelming. It is so crazy how many options there are. And so first things first, I'm starting this by talking about target audience, because you could spend a lot of time on every single social platform and it might not be worth it for you if you're not reaching the people you actually want to reach. So for Visit Winona, we might be in a lot of spaces, but we use those spaces very differently. And I'll give some examples as I go forward as well. We do not take any space lightly. And if we realize that we're not doing one well, we will no longer participate. So that is something to keep in mind, but also to really be aware of the platforms that exist, who the main kind of fans and followers of that platform are, and if that's who you're really trying to reach. So first things first, thinking about your target audience. Specifically for Visit Winona, we actually had an entire strategic development session talking about who we want our markets to be and who we want to direct our marketing towards. So just for an example, we identified 4 different niche markets back in 2019 and are still working on those niche markets through our communications. So we targeted affluent baby boomers, millennial experience seekers, millennial families, and outdoor recreation junkies. So as you can see, those are very specific. We are not talking about millennials. We're talking about millennials who like outdoors. We are talking about people who have families. So you can get really specific these days in your communications, in your storytelling, in your marketing, and you want to get as specific as possible. before you talk a lot about those demographics, so what I like to call like the census data, a lot of those that you see up there on the screen, start there for sure, but then really what you want to focus on when in terms of social media is the psychographics. So that's the personal characteristics of your audience member. So what I like to do as kind of a practice, if you will, is really hone it down to one ideal customer. Picture that person, name them if you want. That really helps too. And there's a worksheet that I sent to Brian as kind of a extra resource for folks. So this is a free worksheet to download. It's I think 2 or 3 pages. This is just the front page to really do a deep dive on your audience and who are you looking for? What are they most interested in? Where are they getting their information? And then that's where you can start to build your communication and your storytelling base. Again, talking about social platforms, every platform has its own purpose, right? People are on Instagram for a reason, they're on Twitter for a reason, they're on Facebook for a reason, they're on TikTok for a reason. Oh, TikTok. So you have to know why they're there and to be a part of that. So once you've honed that target audience, find out if your target audience really likes Midwest Living Magazine. We have one of those, one of our target markets really does. We go for that for our storytelling, right? If they really like the local newspaper, go for that. Social is the same way. Just because platforms exist doesn't mean your business needs to be on it unless you have a really specific purpose and you're really going for communicating to that audience. The beautiful thing about it is that information exists. You can do a Google search on who is most active on Facebook. This is just an example of the many resources out there to find out where are my people? Where are they finding their information and how can I meet them there? One of the things that I think people and businesses especially forget after years and years of social media is that social media was never meant for advertising. They didn't want it. People who joined Facebook never was like, oh, I'd really like to see sponsored ads all the time. No, they never wanted it. They wanted to connect with people who are like them. They want to share content with people who are like them or that they're interested in or learn more information. So that is something that as a business or as an organization, you have to keep in mind. You have to be social. If you're on social media, be social with it. Use your website for that really great, informational piece, but on social, just be social. So this is an example just today. On our Visit Winona page, I shared a Throwback Thursday sweatshirt of the London, Paris, Rome, Winona shirt from decades ago, I want to say. And we actually have the updated version because it was just so delightful. And this is just a sampling of the comments. A lot of businesses, you'll see this and you will see no replies from that business. That's wrong. You're doing it wrong. If you have a social page, you need to be interacting with those people. They're commenting for a reason. They're getting excited about it, right? Like, I love Winona. I have it too. Great conversation. So as a business, make sure that if you're on social, you're participating in the social aspect of it, that you are loving, that you're replying. It doesn't have to be every single one because it gets exhausting, but you need to be a part of it. So please keep that in mind. Let's see, this is something that I really thought was important to share in that, again, the reason that you're on social is you want to engage with your audience, right? And to engage with them, ultimately, you want them to share, right? That's the purpose of you putting your story out there or putting some sort of fact out there. So Adobe put this beautiful state of content report together, and I sent the link to Brian as well, so you can see the whole piece. But the reason that people share content is not because it's a beautiful sponsored ad. It's because they have some sort of a great emotional connection to it, or they want to raise awareness, share knowledge. Again, show friends that they have some cool content that they think they'll enjoy. Again, it's the social aspect of it. You have to make sure that you are producing content that is share worthy. Right? I know, especially it gets tricky because you get in the wheel of, oh, well, we have this event coming up. I really have to just like push this really hard. How could you better create content that people would be more likely to share about that event rather than just posting an event? That's important too. really consider the format in which you're creating that content, so then it becomes more shareable. For Visit Winona, oops, there we go. We have, nope, I'm going the other way. We have very quickly realized that over the years of social media, that beautiful Winona pictures is what people follow us for, period. They do not want to hear about events. They do not want to hear about really anything other than a beautiful Winona picture. And such is life, right? Thankfully, we live in a gorgeous city, and so we have a really rich database, if you will, of beautiful pictures. But it has been a learned experience and experiment on social media. When Visit Winona first started on Facebook, and you can go back to our very start, it was a lot of just like sharing other people's events and that kind of thing. And it was very little engagement. People were not really interested. The minute we started, again, just really connecting folks to what is emotional to them about town, which a lot of it is the beauty and what made them fall in love with town. And so that's what we've really been knocking out of the park, and have just ridiculous engagement on Pretty Winona photos. And it has a lot more to do with than just that. It's our tone. We're not selling anything, and that's tricky because that's a little bit of the nature of our business as well, is that we don't necessarily have a product other than the city. We kind of want you to come visit or eventually move. So we're a little bit different in that we don't truly have a product. But we do want to develop that relationship just like a business would on social. And so it's important to have that conversational tone to avoid marketing speak at all costs. Again, you're on social media, you are not advertising in a classified. So be social about it. We actually, as Visit Winona staff, have had specific Visit Winona voice training in order to post on our social platforms, because it is a really specific kind of speak that our organization has developed over the years that really resonates with folks. And we want to make sure it's consistent through all of our platforms. So it's really fun and unique and different, and you'll find something that works best for your organization. But it really is about learning what your folks want to see, watching those insights. Thankfully, there's data galore in all of the social platforms, so really taking advantage of it. I wanted to use this example in that it is the same photograph. It's a user-generated photograph. Again, that's a huge piece of social as a business. If you can use a really engaged follower or fan or community member and use their content instead of your own, it makes you look so much more credible and interesting, and folks, again, have more of that personal connection rather than, oof, this business is just trying to sell me something. So this was something I just posted the other day, the beautiful overlook at night from Garvin Heights. As you can see, I used the same photo, but I did different content, word content for everyone based on our demographics. So for Facebook, it's really interesting in that about 85% of our 16,000 followers aren't in Winona. They do not live in Winona. But they probably have some sort of a connection to Winona. So they were past residents. They went to school here at one time. Their kids went to school here at one time. They might have family in the area, but they are not actually in Winona. So that's why our event posts did terribly, because they weren't even in town. But sharing a beautiful photo, again, makes all the connection. For Facebook as well, we have a little bit higher of the age demographic for our Facebook followers is a little higher than our Twitter and our Instagram. So I did a little bit of a riff on Goodnight Moon, knowing there's a lot of parents in that demographic, and it got crazy following or engagement. Instagram and Twitter, again, understanding the platforms. Instagram is crazy about hashtags. So utilize hashtags like crazy on Instagram. Facebook, not so much. We don't even put really any hashtags in Facebook. Twitter, a little bit more so, not as much as Instagram. So again, understanding the platforms and speaking to the audience that's viewing you specifically, not just repurposing content for repurposing content's sake. Another piece of really creating content and storytelling for your audience, after looking at our audience views or our follower kind of data for Facebook, again, recognizing a vast majority of our followers have a connection to Winona but aren't here, we decided to throw Cynthia, our wonderful marketing specialist, in front of the camera for Facebook Live sessions. And this has been going on for, I want to say, 2 years now. We've actually won several marketing awards for this series, in that it's kind of perfect for social. It is a person, not a company, talking to you about the whatever they're talking about. For Cynthia, we engage our followers in letting them vote for where they want her to go the next week. And what she does is just takes the camera, is really personable and, you know, herself and all the amazingness that she is, and talks about the area. So she's done everything from, as you can see, climbing Sugarloaf to paddling the backwaters to getting a behind the scenes tour of Blado's, which not many people get to do. So that's a big deal. I mean, it's been so much fun, and the engagement that we get is crazy because of the followers. They aren't in Winona, but they have that memory, or they have that connection. And this is a really wonderful, and now because of the pandemic, safe way for them to enjoy the community that they remember, or that they long to come see, or that, you know, 15% are here and they can just get some fun insider view. So anyway, you can put a person behind your business and kind of show that behind the scenes look is absolutely fabulous. So try to think about that when you're thinking about storytelling as well. Another great example of creating original content as well as watching trends is our shortlist. We have a series of videos that are probably 1.5 minutes long each, and they are kind of the top 5 of a specific topic. So we have locals who are really interested and passionate about a specific area, like Sarah Johnson, our creative laureate, talking about the best places for inspiring art, etc. And what we did was just have them give us their top 5 in that area. We did a short video, and we have it on all of our socials, our YouTube channel, our website. So repurposing that content, but also tailoring it depending on what platform in which you're using. But this is just one of my favorites because it is trends in that, especially on online and especially on social media, people have very short attention spans. And so the more you can give them lists, the better. They love a good list. So this was our way of just tapping into that in a really fun and, again, personable way to have a local tell you what their favorite kid stuff. And the kid stuff one, I'm very biased. My 5-year-old son at the time, Henry, did that one. So check it out. It's very good. But great storytelling and really engaging and fun and shareable, right? Like, so shareable. Everybody wants to just say, like, oh, this is delightful, go check this out. I talked a little bit earlier about user-generated content and how very important it is on social media, especially for businesses. When you're using your customer or your community's imagery or voices, it really is showing your audience the authentic viewpoint. It's not sounding like it's coming from a company anymore. It's sounding like it's coming from somebody who has enjoyed your product or has used your product personally and wants to share it. Again, it just gives you your company or your business that credibility. So a lot of what we do at Visit Winona is listening on social. And by listening, I mean a lot of searching. So I do a lot of hashtag WinonaMN searches on all of our platforms. I do a lot of hashtag or location searches, Winona, Minnesota. So I'm watching to see what other people are posting, other cool photos, other interesting posts. All of these examples are other people who shared this on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. And then obviously as a business, I have to get permission to share. And if you're coming from a place of, I love your photo and I'd love to share it with our followers with your photo credit, everybody on Instagram is very big about that. So just make sure you're mentioning them and then they'll be okay with it. I've never had anyone say no, is what I'm trying to say. So make sure as a business you're asking permission to use. Again, in that ask, you're actually building another potential ambassador, if you will, if they're feeling, ooh, like this company really cares about me and really wants to engage with its actual customers. And that's how you can do it really easily, is through user-generated content. A fantastic example of that is our long and very complicated story of Winona Ryder. So long story short, Winona Ryder came to Winona to film a Super Bowl commercial last year. She came out with this whole website on Squarespace called Welcome to Winona. And needless to say, the photos left something to be desired. They were not great. So as somebody, or as an organization.
Can I interrupt for just a
Yeah,
second?
please, Jessi.
In all fairness, I am sure she didn't do it.
No, she did not.
No.
Correct. Yeah.
But the story was that these were
Right.
the terrible pictures she took of our town that she
Correct.
loved so much.
Yep. So needless to say, Visit Winona, who markets Winona to outsiders, had a little bit of a panic attack and then said, okay, how can we use this to our advantage, right? Like the biggest celebrity pretty much that we'll ever see connected to our town is having a Super Bowl commercial. Let's do this. So we invited our audience and our followers to participate in sharing beautiful pictures of Winona, because we know they exist, we know they have them, and we wanted our followers to feel like they were a part of the true story of Winona, rather than Winona Ryder pushed out this just ridiculous book that has nothing to do with our actual town. And so what we did was we actually created a book called This is Winona, and it's all user-generated photos that we collected and received permission from by folks using the hashtag Welcome to Winona. So this was across all of our social platforms. We did indeed create an actual website called Welcome to the Rest of Winona. It's a copycat website of the Winona Ryder one. It was a long and wonderful story, and we got national attention for actually our response, which was, but talk about engaging the community. I mean, I think really what I heard from a lot of residents was they were mad. They wanted to do something about it. And by doing this in a positive way, never once on our socials or really anywhere did we say, oh, this is awful, because that's not the point. We turned it into a positive and said, we know the true Winona, and we want to share it with you. And so by tapping in our folks, it really created this wonderful community kind of coming together around sharing the true Winona. I've got two quick trends to watch that I wanted to touch real quickly on. Facebook groups. So I want to say, do I have it in here? I think late 2019, early 2020, Facebook went through a redesign of its apps in order to show group traffic more. Long story short, they wanted to push users more toward private spaces, knowing that the actual newsfeed is getting saturated by sponsored ads and businesses who don't know what they're doing on social. And so this really harkens back to finding that niche market or finding that target audience that you're really going for, and potentially finding them in these separate groups. So what we're very much watching ourselves and participating in is we're not creating a Visit Winona group, right? Groups already exist out there. In fact, there's one very engaged one that has 9,000 members called, you know, you're from Winona. If you see their cover photo there, that's our visitor guide. This is not sanctioned by us at Visit Winona, but you better believe we're watching it. We're listening to the conversations. We're seeing what posts get the most engagement, what photos people are really interested in or love or have a visceral connection to. You know, these are our potential ambassadors. And so we want to make sure as a business, as an organization, that we are paying attention to that social dialogue and not just being ridiculous and sharing, you know, all of the things that we're doing, but being the community member that they want us to be, being a real person. So just an example, somebody actually had found our Star Tribune newspaper ad from I want to say summer 2019, and started this conversation of, they described Winona as surprisingly weird. And it was, I mean, as you can see, 46 comments. I mean, ridiculous. People had things to say. By no means did Visit Winona go in and, try to change people's minds or anything. But I personally went in because I am a community member and I wanted to share additional info on the actual campaign in case people wanted to learn more. And people loved it. The vast majority of the comments were really positive because they got a better context for where we were coming from. So again, participating in the dialogue rather than trying to control it. You can control your website. That's where you control. Social, we don't try to control it, just be a part of it. And again, one of my final kind of group examples is Lakeview. Everybody loves Lakeview. I mean, it's a Winona staple. And this person had just shared a post, just a simple picture of Lakeview and the date they were opening. It got crazy amount of engagement. And so I was like, okay, right, I should definitely plan a Lakeview post. It's really amazing. And right now it's one of our most highly engaged with posts in 2021, because just what people want to see. If they want, and watching that conversation on social is really important, and participating where you can. I would be remiss not to talk about TikTok. This is something as Visit Winona we are watching closely. We've had several of our marketing folks that we chat with encourage us to jump on this bandwagon, and so we're dipping our toes very lightly in. We'll see how we go, but it's huge. It's huge, guys. Over 2 billion downloads of TikTok have happened, faster than any other social platform. You really have to watch these things if this is the audience that you're going for. 85% of businesses are already using video. And the cool thing about TikTok is you can actually repurpose some of your already recorded video on their platform. So it could be an interesting way just to dabble in this. Something I really found interesting was just earlier this week on the New York Times, they were talking about how TikTok is now being used as a book selling influence, if you will. So there are people on TikTok who are reading books and getting so emotional and so, again, passionate about this book that their Barnes and Noble is saying that they are selling out of books that were published decades ago because somebody on TikTok is crying over it. It's wild. Just talk about storytelling that we are just at the forefront of. And something that's really exciting too is for the early days of social platforms is a lot of businesses are just so scared. They don't want to even touch that, right? And it could be a good way for you just to, like I said, dip your toes in, see how you like it, and show from the get-go that you weren't in it from, when you could start doing sponsored posts, that you really want to be a part of that community. So that kind of gives you an overview for what Visit Winona does. Like I said, we're such a unique beast that I'm not sure how how you could take that into your own organization, but I'm happy to share any additional resources or insight that anybody would care to learn about. So reach out. We're opening our visitor center for the first time in a year next Friday, April 2nd. So please come out and say hi. I'd love to see you and share your love for Winona. Please, you're my biggest ambassador as Winonans. And use the hashtag WinonaMN, and maybe I'll ask if I can use it. Thanks, everybody.
Great, thanks, Kate. That was a really nice presentation. And what I'm imagining, since I know we have Karen and Mandy in the room, and we're also recording this for future use. So maybe my suggestion as a bit of a revision to our event is maybe we'll have Jessi present and then Stacy present. And then we can sort of close the formal part of this, stop recording, and then just kind of open it up for an informal conversation, if you'd like, especially if it might be sort of intimidating to be right in the middle of something that's going to be recorded and shared out. So that's, I'm going to make that proposal. And then I think with that, then we can have, I'll turn it over to Jessi, and then we can go right to Stacy. And then from there, we'll close the formal event and then just open it up for questions and conversation. So Jessi, over to you.
Okay. Well, Kate is a great professional, so I'll try my best. All right, so let's share my screen, because of course I have notes too. Come on, brain. Come on. Here we go. Let me know if this looks great. I'm assuming it's going to look amazing. Can you see my screen? Thumbs up.
It looks great.
So encouraging. Thank you. Okay, super basic. Why Facebook? To remind everyone why your organization is great and what your organization is doing. Those are the two main reasons you should be on Facebook. Organizationally, it's not a great place to raise money. If you want your supporters to raise money for you, Jessi's going to ride 100 miles for Habitat. Great. Habitat, we need $100. Nothing. It's not going to work. So why is your organization great and what are you doing? This is also very, very simple, but I have seen this done wrong and it's uncomfortable. You can see my little face there. That's when I log into my Facebook and it gives me some options and pages. Now, each business or organization should have its own page. Please do not say that your group, that your club is a person. They're not a person and it's not going to work the same. So on the little orange flag there, I keep pointing to my screen. I know you can't see it, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway. The little orange flag there that says pages, if I click that, I will see a list of all the pages that I administer. And there are a few. So, you got to make sure you're not posting ad information for one page on, the other one. So when I click on pages and I click on my little Habitat one there, and this is what pops up, that sidebar that I have my choices. And insights, the fancy red arrow pointing at insights. This is really what you're going to start looking at to see what's working for you. Okay, so when you click on insights, you see this. It's a lot of information. Don't get scared. This is a list of my most recent posts on our Habitat Facebook. The little orange bars there, those are the post reach. That means how many people looked, how many people saw it, how many people flung past it, and maybe they only saw it for a split second, but it made it to their feed. So that is usually what I'm looking at when I look at our posts. For our organization, based on our size, I have no idea what size you guys are working with, but for us, if I hit 1,000, that's a good one. Something went right. Let's look at that. Let's do that again. If you look closely, please don't look closely. You'll see there are ones that are smaller, and sometimes you have to post something boring and that's fine. Just don't do it too much. The little blue bar there under engagements is post clicks. So that's anytime anybody actually clicks a button or clicks something and does something to engage with your post. And then the pink is reactions. So that's the happy face, the thumbs up, the comments, the shares. So that I don't look at that as much, but it's good to know. Okay, so my first example, I love this. I love this. This is the Humane Society, our local Humane Society. This is, you can see back in 2019, they can't do it right now, I don't think, but consistent formulas work. Happy Adoption Day, plunk in the animal's name, those 3 little symbols, it becomes very familiar to the followers. You're flinging through, you see, oh, there's a man holding a cat. I bet he just adopted that cat. Oh, look, he did. And now he's happy. I'm going to click like. I like that. I like to see a happy person with a happy animal. It's predictable. It feels good. Okay, regular schedule is another good one. We have our Tuesday teaser here at the Restore, and that's always one of our best performers. People know it's Tuesday afternoon. I want to get a sneak peek. I want to know what's coming. Again, there's that Tuesday teaser. It's the same 2 words at the beginning of every Tuesday teaser post. Gets your attention, lets you know what it is. This, if you can see the bottom here, this is really where we get the most number of people reached. Okay, encouraging clicks. Now you can see our Tuesday teasers, we do this little thing where the red arrow is pointing at that +2. If you want to see all the pictures, you have to actually click into this post. That's going to make people stop and actually click on your post and engage with your post. If we posted 1 or 2 pictures, they would see it without having to engage. So it gets a little sticky and they have to spend a little time with us. So that's good. That gets your clicks up. Real photos. Kate went on about it. Kate, you're so right. The photo this is my work. So let's grill my work here. On the left, I put my heart and soul into a beautiful Lent post. It was relevant to our mission. It was relevant to a holiday coming up. It looks nice. And it didn't hit that 1,000 mark that I usually like to get. Photo on the right, that's just some cute kids holding the Lent calendar. They're advertising the same thing, but the cute kids made it to more people's feeds. It was more pleasing to look at. It was more engaging. It was children that some people recognized. Some people said, oh, I know her mom. I'm going to look at it. Oh, I know I'm going to send that to my friend because my friend has kids and they might want it. So yes, good job on your graphic, Jessi, but don't do it too much. Tagging partners. This is a really big one for us too. It really gets people engaged. So you can see the picture on the left. We got a donation of shopping carts at our restore from Hy-Vee in Winona. And we were so excited. This is a big deal for us. We had a few odds and ends, janky shopping carts. So we were very excited. So we took a picture of the carts and a picture of the store manager and tagged Hy-Vee just to say thank you publicly, say thank you and say, Hy-Vee is our friend. And again, we hit that 1,000 people reach number that matters so much to me. And then Midtown Foods, this is the best post I probably have ever done. It's a happy photo. It's got Midtown people in it and Amanda, our director. They're giving us a check. We tagged ourselves at Midtown Foods in Winona. So then Midtown sees it, they share it. People who follow Midtown are seeing it in their feed. Over 3,000 people saw this photo. So it's just a difference of real photos with real people and then connecting local businesses and local supporters with your organization. And that's the end. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I went so fast. But yeah, so one more thing Kate really prompted too, that I didn't put in here, that it wouldn't apply to every organization, but we do have resources available to us from Habitat for Humanity International. And they're good resources, but we have to use them carefully. If I post a beautiful Habitat International photo of a child in their new home, and it's obviously a child in a different country, that is not going to work well for us on social media. I can put that on a brochure if I need to. We have a beautiful child on the side of our truck, and we're very happy with it. But if someone looks at a photo on Facebook and they can tell this is an ad, this is not a child I've ever seen before, I don't recognize the landscape, it's not going to register. It's not going to connect with them. So that's all I have. Yeah. And nobody has any questions because I did a great job. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and thanks, Jessi, and I appreciate that. And I maybe after Stacy shares, I'll ask a couple. I have a couple of questions that I think are some ones that I know our lived experience leaders participants will be interested in. So I may ask that for the group, and then at that point we'll close and stop recording, and then just open it up for conversation with the group. So thanks, Jessi, and Stacy. I'll turn it over to you.
So I also have a PowerPoint. It's not as fancy and colorful. If I can get it going here. Can everyone see that?
Looks great.
Okay, great. So I'm going to keep this very simple, just how to work with media. I have a lot more experience with television, but I'm also going to touch a little bit in like print, such as newspaper. And then I'll also talk about what works best with radio as well. So before you reach out to any media whatsoever, you should ask these questions to yourself, because there are some stories within your organization that just maybe aren't shareable, but you think they are. So before I write anything or decide to share it with any type of media, I always ask these questions. So is my story or idea attention grabbing? My number one question, why should the reader care? And that's will get you, is it attention grabbing? So if I want, the best stories are person centered. They're usually about a person who maybe receives services and is now services at Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Center and now doing amazing work in the community. Or it could be about an individual who was once homeless and now has a house. So person centered that way. And it's attention grabbing because that person may remind me of my neighbor Bob, or may remind me of the man I saw at the store. So people care about those types of stories. If you have an event, you want to make sure that the event is worthy enough to share. So do you want the event to bring in people? Is your event trying to raise money? Or is this an event just to hang out at my house? The event that you're raising money and trying to get people to come to is obviously more newsworthy to share than just a simple hangout party. Common sense, I know. And then a second question to keep in mind is it a visual story? And how many visuals can I show? And that's so important because in print, you don't need a lot of visuals. But when you're talking to a television station, you're going to need a lot more visuals depending on the length of the story that they want to display. So always ask those questions first and kind of process through those questions, and that'll decide for you if you should reach out to the media, and it's also going to help you decide what type of media you should reach out to. So the next step would be a media pitch, and we're going to talk about television first. So the last question I asked is it visual? Your story, if you're going to reach out to a television station, has to be visual because that's who they are. They're a visual market. If you have to stage visuals to explain the story, that is okay and it can be done. But the more visuals you have, the better, because you don't know if that reporter coming is going to film 30 minutes or 30 seconds for a story or 2 minutes for a story. So you want to have a lot of visuals if you're going to reach out to the media. And then you can go ahead and write the press release. You're writing the pitch to send to your media stations on what's going on. You want to keep it short. You want to tease it. Don't give them all the information because they may decide, oh, my reporter actually doesn't have the time to show up. So we're going to just quote you and throw up a graphic on our TV, which is a graphic, something that looks like this. You don't want that. You want them to come to your business because they're going to show the amazing work you're doing, and more people are going to react to it through their TV screens and when they post it on their online sites. So keep it short, but make sure you have the important information. So the who, what, where, when. Obviously, if you're having an event, you need to put the time in there. Make sure they're going to RSVP so you're prepared for them to come, because go back to the visual. If you're going to have a press conference of some sort, they're going to need visuals to back up your press conference. Or if they're coming to your event and there may not be a lot going on at 2 o'clock, but there's a ton going on at 5, that's when you want them to come. Then you're going to send that press release to your media outlets, your local television stations. I usually send them to WEAU because they have a bureau or a smaller station in La Crosse, WXOW, WKBT. I also send them way over up into Rochester because Rochester dabs into our area a little bit as well. And for Hiawatha, we reach as far as Red Wing, Caledonia, Fillmore County. So we're in a wide range. It never hurts to send it to too many people, I'll tell you that. Because some of these stations share video, they share networks. So if your story is filmed by one station, they may share it with another. And then make sure after you send out that press release that you follow up. You call the news station, you follow up. Did you get my press release? Start building that relationship. Oh, you are going to come? What kind of story are you looking at doing? Oh, you want to personalize it? Yeah, we'll have Frank there to talk to you. Not a problem. Oh, you're going to want lots of video? Okay, great. Yep, we'll have that ready. So it's so important to have that follow-up conversation, and then you're ready. For media, and this is really Brian's area, but I'm going to touch on my experience with print. So print, it doesn't always have to be visual. If you have a photo to go with it, great. If you don't, that's okay too, because it depends on the space that they have in the newspaper and where they want to put you. I do the same thing. I write a press release, but I'm longer. My press release tells the story, tells as much information as possible, because oftentimes they run exactly what I give them. And I've had times where I haven't shared enough information and they respond back, we need more information. Can you do X, Y, and Z? So the longer, the better. Quotes. I always throw in a quote in every press release that I write for print. I always have a quote in there from an executive director, that person-centered person, because that just adds to the entire story. Pictures, send a picture if you have one. And then the time frame for paper it varies. They have deadlines of when they print. So I like to give it a couple more. I like to send it at least 2 weeks in advance. Everybody's a little different. I send it 2 weeks in advance. So when I fill up and they're like, Stacy, you didn't give us enough information, I have time to go back in and do what I need to do. And I have time to send that picture, etc. You're doing the same thing as you did with television. You want to follow up. Did you get my information? What else do you need? Oh, you're going to come to the event. Great. So keep that relationship building going. So when you're done with paper and you send that press release, your door is pretty much closed. I'm done. I sent it. They'll run it. Great. With television, you have one more step. Okay, I'm done. I sent the press release. Now they're going to show up at my place. And you really need to be ready. In places that aren't ready and you're unorganized, as a person who is a reporter and an anchor, it is frustrating. You have a deadline to meet, and it's quick deadlines. You have to be on at 5, you have to be on at 6, and the anchors and producers don't care how long you spent at the story. You have to meet the deadline. So it's so important to be organized when that TV station shows up. Make sure you have your interviews ready, the people that are going to be interviewed. Make sure you have the visuals ready. If you have to stage them, or if you need to show them the toy room so they can take video of your toy room, or if you're at an event and you really want them to get that ice cream eating contest, you want to make sure you have that all ready to go. And then something that's really big that I like to plug in is if you are filming, and Jessi, this is probably for your organization as well. If you're filming a media permission, it says form, it should say from. I just noticed that. But if you're filming a consumer, so if they want to come in and film one of our clients, I have to ask. I have to have written permission from them, because it would be a HIPAA violation. And one, it's polite to ask people. It's polite to say, hey, do you mind if he gets a couple seconds of you holding your daughter's hand? That's the polite thing to do for people, so they're aware that the camera's on them. Oh, and that's it. So that's media and working with the media in a nutshell. I think I hit it all.
Cool. Thanks, Stacy, and thanks, Kate, and thanks, Jessi. And I just wanted to offer one question into the space, maybe for you to respond to as a panel, maybe a couple of questions, but I think one. And then, as I said, we'll close the formal presentation and then just open this up for Karen and Mandy for conversation and questions. Although no pressure. I know there's courage in being just a couple of attendees in a group, and so if you've got questions and conversation, great, but no responsibility to have any. I know one question our lived experience leaders participants have, because many of them are very, very new to their projects or their organizations, is just kind of how to get started on creating content. Like how do I collect some photos? I know, Jessi, you talked about this, like every Tuesday we have the same kind of piece. Do you have any tools or tips or resources, kind of regardless of where somebody's coming from? How do you get started building some stuff and telling those first stories?
I think it helps to have a plan. On Tuesdays, we take pictures of couches. Maybe on Fridays, we'll try to take a picture of volunteers, just to get yourself started and to really start throwing things out there and see what people are responding to. But again, always try to really be focused on why you're doing it. Show them what we're doing and show them why we are important, why we're great, make them feel good. Oh, look at that picture of that girl holding a shovel. Oh, that's great. Habitat's doing great things for our community. I feel good.
I agree with that for sure. In that, again, it's that person that you can connect with, right? People always want to see other people. And so if I'd say a really easy place to start content wise is with people. So whether that's showcasing the folks that are behind the scenes in your organization, or like Jessi said, somebody holding the shovel because they're doing the work, start with people. People don't want to see product, they want to see other people. So that's an easy place to start, is that human connection.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. And then the other question I had was to, I mean, I heard, and I heard this in your discussion too, Stacy, about reaching out to local media, and I'm hoping you can all weigh in on this too. I mean, I heard one of the fears or the resistances we have with folks who are very new to this. They have the sense of like, I don't know if it's perfect. I don't know if it's the right thing I should be talking about. I don't know if it's the right person to send it to. Is it the right time? Is it the right thing? I'm just not going to do it because I'm not sure. But what I heard in all of your commentary was like, just start putting stuff, like send it to as many media members as you can, put a bunch of content out there and see what sticks. I'm wondering if you can all just sort of talk about that strategy a bit and maybe sort of like lower the anxiety level of folks feeling like they need to get it perfect.
Well, I know for media, that's what I do. Sometimes they're going to take the story and they're going to want to do it, and other times they're just not. And it may not be that like, oh, your story isn't good enough. It may be it's sports overtime that night and they just can't make it. If you're really struggling and you're like, I just don't know, call their newsroom, speak to their assignment editor. Hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this event. Think you guys are interested? Okay, great. I'll send you the information. Or, hey, we have this great story about Bob. Are you guys interested? Okay, I'll send you the information. Just try it. You don't know until you try on what they want to do or not.
I know at Visit Winona, we've collected kind of a master Excel sheet of all the contacts for local media. And so I'm sure we'd be delighted to share that for anybody who's interested. You know, we try to keep it updated as much as possible, but I wholly agree. You should send it out. What's the worst could happen? It doesn't get used? Cool. Like, at least you tried. I mean, I think, especially having worked on the other end in the news side as well, sometimes they're just hungry for a tip. Sometimes they're really just wanting something local and interesting. And this was, you know, I worked in newspapers before like Facebook was like a way that reporters went on and got, you know, sources, but nowadays they can do that too. So share your content on social, so then maybe you can inspire somebody local to do a bigger piece. Share it, get it out.
And I would say too, don't forget to submit photos to the newspaper. Just a photo with 1 or 2 lines, and they can plug that into if there's just a hole somewhere in the paper. I think that gets forgotten a lot, but again, people like to see people.
And is it the same, Kate and Jessi? Is it the same on the social media front? I mean, if I'm hearing a message on just don't worry about it, just kind of people focused content, put it together, put it out there, and then just kind of pay attention. I mean, Jessi, I appreciated you sharing and talking about like the analytics piece that all pages have, and how you sort of watch that and then kind of prioritize what's popular. Is that really the take-home message too for social media storytelling?
Yeah, I think once you've kind of, you know, started putting in some regular work, then you can start looking at the back end of it and see how it's getting responses. But yeah, don't dive in head first and post, hey everyone, tell me your favorite thing about us, because it's likely not going to get a good response and it's embarrassing. So yeah, just, you know, don't ask people questions, maybe ever.
Every now and then a good question goes a long way, but again, that's understanding your audience. It's huge. Know who you're trying to get and how you can reach them and what platform makes the most sense for it. So I do agree, just post and then read the analytics. Go for the analytics. Holy moly, you can get all the info you need on how good of a job you're doing or what you could try differently through those insights on all the social platforms, but you need to know who your audience is first.
Great. That's really good advice. Thanks, everyone. And so what I will do, noting we're right at 7 o'clock, so I will close the recorded portion of this, but we won't, and then we will just stay here and kind of respond or be in conversation for whatever works for you, Karen. So just again, to be an appreciation and thanks for Kate and for Stacy and for Jessi for sharing your wisdom and expertise. And to note that everything that you've heard discussed here tonight, Kate mentioned some free resources, the presentations, the connections and the links are all going to be shared in a couple places. So we will have them on engagewinona.org. We have a project page, the Lived Experience Leaders How-To Workshops. So if you go to engagewinona.org, right on the homepage, there's a link to that. And you'll find a link to this video. You'll also find all of these free resources, both for this event and for the other events we've done in the past on grant writing and starting this nonprofit or a small business and related topics. And then we will also be sharing these on our Facebook page, both within this event and then generally as we go forward. So again, thanks to all three of you for being a part of this. And we know the best thing about this is that this whole thing is centered around sort of local expertise, local wisdom, local talent. So not only are you all amazing experts and professionals in your field, but you're right here in our backyard and really accessible for folks and to make that connection and to learn more. So we appreciate you being with us tonight and really just appreciate everything you have shared. So thank you.